Okay, so let me just talk a little again about the overall situation in the country in the early to mid 1970s. Vietnam is wrapped up, things are quieting down. The GIs are still very much in charge in Washington. They're going to be for quite a while, and they have learned a big lesson from Vietnam about what works and what doesn't. And as a result, there aren't going to be any similar involvements like Vietnam as long as the GIs are in charge. There's going to be plenty of foreign intervention, but not war. And even in 1990-91, in the last GI war, it's handled with great care by our last GI president, Bush 1, and his team to make sure that it's over relatively quickly. Meanwhile, we've had the great national drama of Watergate, which on the one hand, I think reconnected the boom generation to politics somewhat, since it proved that Nixon was every bit as bad as they had thought he was. And also was a very impressive demonstration, I think, of what the system could do in ferreting out the truth and in acting on it. Nixon remains the only president actually to leave office as a result of an impeachment investigation. He wasn't formally impeached or convicted, but he was going to be, and therefore he quit before all that could happen. There were some interesting generational aspects to Watergate that certainly I didn't understand at the time. I don't think anybody did. For one, a whole troop of younger, silent generation Nixon aides testified before Congress explaining how they had willingly agreed to violate various laws for the sake of Richard Nixon. And there was a lot of commentary on how could this have happened. Well, it happened partly because they were silenced, being deferential to GIs, which is what they had been doing all their life. The great exception, of course, was John Dean, who decided not to defer and who played a major role too. Another generational aspect, which Strauss and Howe pointed out repeatedly, was that Woodward and Bernstein were boomers. Actually, they're both right on the cusp, and Woodward, I think, has turned out to be more of a silent, which his lifestyle, his life cycle would justify. Bernstein turned out to be much more of a boomer. He's a little bit younger. Also, he had never finished college. But they did a lot of the legwork and went into a lot of places that older reporters wouldn't have gone. At the same time, they were supervised, as All the President's Men, a wonderful historian's movie showed, by the GI editor and Ben Bradley and some others as well. Meanwhile, Sam Ervin, the head of the Watergate Committee, who some of the older folks here will remember, put on a spectacular performance for the nation as the last really visible member of the lost generation, skewering the GIs in silence, testifying for his committee at every turn. The fall of Nixon in '74 led to a huge Democratic sweep in 1974, which was also a huge sweep for the silent generation. And I believe that they took over the plurality in the House of Representatives after 1974. And although Tip O'Neill, a GI, was still the Speaker of the House for some time, the silence set the tone in Congress for the next 20 years until 1994, when there was another very fateful election that we will look at in due course. Now, on the cultural front, there are some big changes in the 70s, which are very evident in movies. It is one of the most wonderful periods for movies in the history of the United States, with a lot of new things being tried, a lot of barriers coming down, daring things being tried. There are lots of movies I would like to use, in addition to the ones that I have used. And I have a couple of clips from some of the other leading movies of the mid-70s to show you, both of which have some relevance to our themes in the course. The first one is from a film that I have used in this course at times as a kind of symbolic film about the awakening, namely One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It is set in 1963. There is only one boomer character in it, I think, but it's about a silent McMurphy taking on a very tightly controlling institution from the high. That institution is more than a symbol. There were about 1 million people in institutions like that in the United States in those days. We didn't have mass incarceration in prison, but we did have very substantial incarceration in episodes like that one. And I do have this one particularly vivid scene to show you as how McMurphy puts some life, shall we say, into this rather dead institution. So here we go. Oh no, wait a minute. What on earth is going on here? Oh, okay. There we go. So. Oh, sorry, I'm having a little trouble here. Okay. Yes. Yep, there's John.
Oh.
Huh? Chief.
You see it?
Come on. Come with me, huh?
No.
All right.
No, we don't see it.
Chief.
Oh no, not
this
again.
Is the spot.
Nope.
Hang on. Okay.
All right.
No,
Huh?
wait.
There we go.
Chief.
Oh, good. Okay.
Come on. Come with me, huh? All right. Now, Chief, this is the spot. Right there is the spot. Remember? Raise the hands in the basket. That's it. Raise the hands. Baby. All right. Let's have a little ball from you nuts in here. Here we go. All right, let's play some ball, nuts. Let's make some moves.
Hey,
all
Mac,
right?
time. You got 6 minutes on the court.
All right. Harding, out of the ball game.
Hey, why me?
Because I'm the coach. I'll put you in later.
Oh, no. I don't trust you.
Mac, I'll go. Okay, good boy, Billy. I'll put you in a minute, all right? All right, let's play ball, Harding. Break it with... All right, Martini, get it back. I'm in the open. What are you doing? You threw the goddamn ball into the fence. Christ almighty, you threw the ball into the fence. There's nobody there. We're playing ball. All right, come on, get in the game defense. Nobody's doing nothing here. For Christ's sake.
Mac, I'm open.
All right, Harding, give it back. Back to me, Harding. Here.
Wait,
I'm open.
wait.
Harding, will
I
you
got
give
it.
me the ball?
I got
Stop
it.
dribbling the
I got it.
goddamn
I got
ball.
it. I got it.
Harding, over here.
Huh?
Oh, for Christ's sake, I'm standing.
You were covered.
I was open. Just give me the ball. They're making all over the guy. I was open. Give me the ball.
Come on. You were covered, Mac.
I wasn't covered. Somebody get back. Give it to me. Give it to me.
You all right? Ow! We're going. Chief, defense.
Hey, baby, put it in. Get down there. Hey.
Get down there, Chief.
All right. Hey. All right. Pick up somebody over there. Get this side, Chief. Get around, Chief. Hey!
Put the ball out.
No. Get down there, Chief. Ball's in play. Ball's in play.
Stop that
Ball's
shit.
in play.
You got to be crazy.
Hey, man, that doesn't go.
Get down there.
Ball ain't in play.
All right, Chief. Get in there.
Go, Chief.
Put it in.
So we see a tremendous outburst of emotion and enthusiasm, a disregard for rules and conventions, all of which is very typical. Now, the next one is also a milestone in cinematic history because it's a breakthrough film, also from the mid-70s, by the man who has become the greatest of boomer filmmakers. And I'm sure you've all seen it at one time or another, and you will probably remember at least some of this specific scene. But this time, I just want you to see it from slightly different eyes, namely as a study in three men, a silent, a GI, and a boomer, all dealing very much in generational character with, shall we say, a rather stressful situation. Okay. Let's have it, okay. See it?
Shit.
Yes.
It
David,
froze.
What?
I need a bigger boat.
It froze.
yeah.
Okay, now?
Froze.
No?
It's
No.
frozen.
That is bizarre. I'll start it over.
Slow ahead.
How
I
about
can go slow
now?
ahead. Come on down and chump some of this shit.
Why don't you
No.
stop sharing and then start sharing again?
Okay. That is so strange. Okay. Yeah, everything's there.
Slow ahead.
There we go.
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chump some of this shit.
Froze again.
Oh my God.
Something popped up on your computer. I think what it might be is you have something popping up on your computer screen despite the video.
Well, let's see.
'Cause I'm seeing like a little white box at the top or upper right-hand corner.
Well,
has-
just a second. I shut down everything else. All right, I'll stop. I'll start. And. Oh no, wait. Okay,
I can go slow ahead. Come on down and chump some of this shit.
how are we doing?
Yes.
This is working.
Yep.
Okay.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Shut off that engine.
That's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons, Alan.
You're gonna need a bigger boat, right?
Gotta get it work.
How do we handle this? How do we handle this?
Go for it, Martin. I need you.
He's circling the boat for us.
Come on, come on.
Amity Point Light Station to Orca. This is Amity Point Light Station to Orca. Come in, Orca.
Orca, come in.
I have Mrs. Mark Brody here.
Put her on.
Come on, Mark, move, move, move! I'm not going out there! Beyond the edge of the barrels. Go to the end of the barrels. Further out. What? Further out! Why? Go further out! What for? Will you go to the end of the pulpit, please? What? Will you please go to the end of the pulpit? What for? I need to have something in the foreground to give it some scale. Foreground my ass!
Your husband's all right, Mrs. Brody. He's fishing. He just got a couple of stripers. We'll bring him in for dinner. We won't be long. We haven't seen anything yet. Orca out.
I need to please. I'm begging you. I'm Martin, goddammit. Come here, darling. Come here, darling. Beautiful.
Beef, want you to get up on the bridge. Just take a forward steady.
I've never steered a boat in my life.
Just watch my hand. Take a steady, Mr. Hooper. Attach the end of this line to the first keg. Gotta get a good shot at that orca's head. Coming. Coming. Hooper, get clear of the barrel. Hooper! Tie it up, will you?
Your turn, Quinn.
Hooper, where are you?
Hooper, hurry it up now. Tie it on. Hurry it up. He's coming straight for us. Don't screw it up now.
Don't wait for me.
Come on, Hooper, come on, hurry up, tie it on!
Kill it, quick. Kill it. Now! Shoot! Time!
What were you doing? You knew I had to get a clean shot right in the head. All right, let's see how long that barrel takes to bring him up.
Lean on the barrel! I'm coming around again!
Okay, how do the three generations show the stress of the situation differently?
I would say the boomer wanted to record it. He was fascinated. The GI wanted to fight it. He saw a good fight, and the silent just wanted to avoid it.
Okay. Other comments?
Silent needed to be told what to do. Didn't know what. He was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Someone tell me what to do. The GI was like, I've been through this before. And
Right.
the boomer is like, what if I think outside the box? Think outside the box.
Okay. What happens to the three of them emotionally in the face of the danger? Quint, I would say, just shuts down, which is a very GI response to danger. Also, in general, a very military response to danger. Kevin and I, as it happens, were together, I believe, on September 11th when we got the news. And I was very struck by all the military people surrounding me at that moment. Just completely shut down.
David, I'm
emotionally.
David,
Yes.
I'm confused when you say he shut down. To me, he took charge.
He does both. Emotionally, he shut down, but he takes charge, and he's just totally focused on what's to be done. Yes, he does get a bit angry at Hooper. That's true, for not doing what he's supposed to be doing. But actually, even when they're talking about the shark, and Hooper says it's a 20-footer, he says 25, but he says it in a much calmer, quieter sort of way. 3 tons on him. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that you know, he compartmentalizes the situation. So he, I think when he says 25 feet, he's pretty scared, but he has to put that very far down because he's got a more serious issue to deal with. And
That's right. Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think that is a GI generation kind of way of approaching problems.
Yeah.
So.
That's interesting because I've never thought of him as scared there. More as just plain in awe of, you know, my God, I've never seen one like this. But I suppose it goes together.
Part of scare.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay. And Dreyfus is very much driven by his own agenda, certainly, although he wants to actually in the whole movie, well, that part of the movie, when they're out on the boat, most of the interaction and the tension is between Dreyfus and Shaw, between Quint and Hooper. And Brody is kind of an observer most of the time, which was typical of what was going on in those days. Okay. In any case, this was a remarkable period for movies, with many things being made that would not have been made earlier. And not only that, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest was actually the third highest grossing movie of that year. And I used to ask students, you know, how popular would this be now in the OOs? And everybody agreed it probably wouldn't be made at all, but it certainly wouldn't have that kind of impact. And I saw it a second time in the Harvard Square Theater in Cambridge on a summer afternoon. It was full of teenagers. And I never experienced anything like it. At the critical moment, when he goes for Nurse Ratched, the place went crazy. It was like a lynch mob, I swear. The people were yelling, "Come on, kill her!" Which, it was really amazing. But anyway, okay. All right, so we turn now, moving towards the subject of our specific subject, towards the children of this period in the awakening. Oh yes, I'm sorry. I did want to mention also that TV was changing a lot as well, and sort of starting slowly to catch up with the movies, with things like All in the Family and Mary Tyler Moore, which don't look like much of a departure now, particularly Mary Tyler Moore, but did seem like one then. But now, meanwhile, new generation is growing up as kids, while all the adults are having so much fun. And I have a real life clip here, which I think is just a wonderful evocation. And it is a clip from Woodstock, of all things. And specifically, we see a silent John Sebastian coming out, apparently stoned out of his mind, to sing a song about the younger generation. But meanwhile, the camera pans around, showing various children taking in this event in August of 1969. Oh, nuts. Sorry. I overdid it. There we go. Yep.
Why must every generation think their folks are square? And no matter where their heads are, they know moms ain't there. 'Cause I swore when I was small that I'd remember when I knew what's wrong with them that I was smaller than. determined to remember all the cardinal rules. Like sun showers are legal grounds for skipping school. I know I have forgotten maybe one or two, but I hope that I recall them all before the baby's due. And I know he'll have a question or two. Like, hey, how can I go ride my Zoom? It goes 200 miles an hour, suspended on balloons. And can I put a droplet of this new stuff on my tongue? And imagine frothing dragons while you sit and wreck your lungs. And I must be permissive, understanding of the younger generation. And then I'll know that all I've learned might. And then I'll know that all I've learned, my kid. Help me. Then I'll know that all I've learned, my kid assumes. And all my deepest worries must be his cartoons. And still I'll try to tell him all the things I've done, relating to what he can do when he becomes a man. And still he'll stick his fingers in the fan. And hey, Pop, my girlfriend's only 3. She's got her own Vivi phone, and she's taking LSD. And now that we're best friends, she wants to give a taste to me. But what's the matter, Daddy? How come you're looking mean? Could it be that you can't live up to your dreams? No, it's not true because we're doing it. I love you. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Sebastian.
Okay, what feelings did those shots of those kids evoke?
Hippies make lousy parents. Really?
Yeah. Others?
Felt like to me that those parents were trying to, bring their kids up in their lifestyle. It's like, I'm going to transfer this wonderful lifestyle to these little ones. They're going to experience it early while they're young and, grow to love it just like I do.
Yeah. Janie?
Kids on their own, free, only sort of supervised. It's interesting. That was the summer the first time I taught. So I do remember sort of the shifting ideas on how to raise children. So
what level were you teaching?
I was teaching first grade.
Oh, okay.
I was doing inner city out of a housing project. So, yeah.
Oh.
So anyway.
Yep. Susan.
I think what is being implied is that there was a permissiveness certainly inherent in the gathering, and kind of anything goes. And we were seeing one little slice of it in the portrait in the filming of these children kind of wandering around. And I was also struck by the little child, the child that wandered onto the stage, and the singer, rather than shooing him away, just just, put a towel over his head and kind of let him, just let him hang around. Which to me is again, just an indication of how basically accepting this group was of, these little kids and kids just being able to wander freely and explore and so on, whether we like it or not. I mean, that's what I think we were seeing.
Yeah, that's what it was. Let me welcome Judy. We haven't gotten to Bad News Bears quite yet, Judy. We just watched a clip from Woodstock in which John Sebastian was singing a song about childhood, and the camera pans around to a lot of naked, very small children in this new Garden of Eden, if you will, which does stimulate a lot of different feelings among different people. Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah, and I think that the Garden of Eden, I think, is a very apt metaphor, but, real sense of community. I think, you could let your children wander around this group because you had a sense of security that everybody was taking care of the children. And and that's, I don't think that's common. I mean, I love my children, not so fond of yours, but that's, there they had a real sense of community, I thought. So, but that was
so David
intentional. And
okay, James, and then Janie. Okay.
Yeah.
James?
So David, what I got out of that is the boomers wanting their kids to act like they wished they had acted.
Yes.
And to escape the conformity that the GIs offered them. But as we know, in the end, that sort of backfired because it made the kids feel neglected and and the boomers, the parents were off doing their own thing, and the Xers were left to roam.
Yes. Okay, Janie.
Okay, two things. One, I had tickets to go to Woodstock, and I had friends who did go, and I was working with my children in my community. I couldn't get off, and friends of mine who did go actually said it was pretty awful. And I think we've romanticized the whole situation because it was muddy, it was raining, it was awful and overcrowded, and so sort of the boomer idea of freedom and all the rest of this, I think we've idealized it beyond what it actually was. And as a young teacher, I struggled with getting parents to understand there are some experiences that you need to leave to an adult because it's inappropriate for a child, and sort of the incredible freedom, let it all hang out. I kept having to explain, you may be emotionally hurting your child by exposing them to these experiences that maybe aren't good for a developing brain. But I lost.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say too, is that, this was an idealized view. And I'm not sure how a bunch of drugged up parents, how good they can look after everybody's kids. And yet I think that in many ways they were recreating the childhood they had had, because a lot of their parents had, used a different drug, but they had been abusing alcohol and other things. So
that's an interesting point of view on it. Okay, John, and then John, go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I meant when I said hippies were lousy parents.
Right.
I think that for a lot of people that, when you have kids, it's one of the most pronounced experiences of feeling yourself to be an adult. When you're married, yes, to a certain extent, but I think when you have kids and you realize you're confronted literally with another generation and you are responsible for it, all of a sudden there's a sense of, duty and obligation and providing for. And the whole hippie thing was sort of the, Peter Pan, I won't grow up, and it's a defiance against getting old. Many of us today, I still think of ourselves as young. I think it's always going to be a hallmark of the boomer generation. And in that particular situation, I think what you saw there, at least visually, was that there was a kind of kids raising kids, which isn't the best situation.
In fact, if I may, listening to Janie talk, and I've known Janie for a long time now, I got the feeling that for her, it's somewhat similar to me. I wasn't at Woodstock either, but in a lot of ways, 1969 or 70 still seems like it was just yesterday to me. And recently, I was asking myself, gee, back in 1970, did I know anybody who would have felt the same way about 1920? And I think the answer is pretty definitely no. I certainly didn't. So it does have something to do with growing up when we did in particular. Now, Steve and Eileen, who are core Xers, I believe, have been very quiet, and I do wonder how they might have reacted to this.
I'll go first. I might have been one of those naked children. I would have been 2 years old when Woodstock happened.
Okay.
Not.
Yeah.
But my parents did have the double LP set, and I listened to it a lot. I did not take LSD at the age of 3, but it was in my high school, and I did indeed experiment with the drugs that the boomers brought into our culture when I was a teenager. Okay. So, and 15 years old, that's child technically. So I was subjected to that permissive upbringing. And what I got out of it, like, he actually uses the word permissive in the song.
Yeah.
And I also sensed there was a bit of kind of maybe worshiping the children a little bit.
Or also, worshiping his idea of the children, right, is the way I would put it. Yeah.
And also in that permissiveness, there was this inherent idea that may or may not have been correct, that children can handle themselves.
Yes.
You can go off and explore, do whatever, they'll be fine because they don't need protection.
And now, from my perspective, my mother was working full-time, and I was a latchkey kid. And across in our backyard was a house full of hippies. And I would walk home from school and stop at their house and hang out with them until my mom got home. And then I would go home to them. And they were the nicest people. So when I look at that video of all those kids out there with all those parents, I think without those hippies, I wouldn't have had parents. So I get really verklempt watching that, because to me,
wow,
that's the people who helped me grow up to be so nice.
That's really sweet. I do think you were somewhat fortunate in the kind of hippies you had next door, though. It could have been very different.
Their names, they're so deeply engraved, engrooved in my heart, and
yeah,
they were such kind. I think they must have been teenagers, maybe 20-year-olds, going to college, and they would let me come in and play the Beatles for me, and it was I just remember lots and lots of days before I climbed the fence over into my backyard, hanging out with them, and they never offered me any drugs. They treated me like I was like so important to them.
The thing that really hits me watching it, having gone through parenthood myself, is there's no sense at all that children might have a specific set of needs at this point, that nobody is paying attention to that at all. It's assumed that just going with the flow is going to be perfectly all right. Yeah. And again, I got to teach this course to young people only once. And because of my crazy career paths, I spent almost my entire career teaching younger boomers and Xers. But I got to teach millennials for 2 years as a visitor at Williams College. And I taught one group of millennials this course, which was amazing. And the week we're in now was particularly amazing for reasons I'll mention. But they were really upset watching that. I mean, this was not their idea of what childhood ought to be like at all.
What was their idea?
I want to delay that.
Okay.
Until well, I can tell you now. I mean, this won't spoil it. Their basic attitude toward the Bad News Bears was they could not believe it. I mean, they were so shocked to see kids talking that way to adults. It was like totally beyond their imagination. And even when I said, well, do the adults deserve any better? And they sort of agreed, no, but still, they were kind of blown away by that. Yeah. Janie?
But-
Yep. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
No, well, I was just going to comment on what you said about they don't recognize that children that have needs. I'm not sure that that's true. I think that they perceive the children's needs as being, unfettered, to be unfettered.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it's not the needs that the world of psychology or a sort of quote unquote normal parent would recognize. I mean, they fed their kids. They, I think, put clothes on them, even though most of these children weren't wearing any clothing at all. But I mean, you saw them nursing them, women nursing their.
Yeah.
But so the question really is, what needs were being filled, and were they, so it's anyway, you get my point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Chaz.
Well, all I could think of while watching that is just the introduction to the Marlo Thomas special, TV special from the 70s called Free to Be You and Me. Just that song just playing in my head the entire time.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that, actually.
I have it pulled up. I can play it.
Yeah.
It kind of ties into everything that we've been saying.
Right.
And
if you want me to.
You can what?
I can. I have it actually on my computer right now. I can pull it up if you want. Share.
What's
That's
Mr. Rogers?
What? Just the song? You mean?
Yeah, the song. The
Okay.
intro. Yeah.
Okay. Go for it. Yeah.
Well, if you enable participant screen sharing.
Where do I do that?
Security.
Wait a minute. Where's the menu?
Down below, there should be a little thing that says security.
Oh yes, security. Right.
If you click
okay.
on it, it
right.
should be able to enable.
Right. Enable. Yes. Allow participants to share screen. Yep.
Yep.
You're in business.
Alrighty. Share that.
There's a land that I see where the children are free, and I say it ain't far to this land from where we are. Take my hand, come with me, where the children are free. Come with me, take my hand, and we'll live in a land where the river runs free, in a land through the green country, in a land to a shining sea, in a land where the horses run free, and you and me are free to be you and me. Every boy in this land grows to be his own man. In this land, every girl grows to be her own woman. Take my hand, come with me, where the children are free. Come with me, take my hand, and we'll run to a land where the river runs free, to a land through the green country, to a land to a shining sea, to a land where the horses run free, to a land where the children are free, and you and me are free to be, and you and me are free to be, and you and me are free to be, you and me.
A lot of what we've been talking about kind of evoked in images and such there.
Yes, although that is, yeah, it is a lot of fun. The cast, by the way, is a kind of who's who in the silent generation, I must say.
Mhm. With
Plus
only
one
one boomer.
boomer, yeah, Michael Jackson. Right. Yeah, right. late boomers. Right.
Interestingly, this was also the time of Fred Rogers and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You know, the kind of the heyday of that program. So it's quite an interesting contrast.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, okay.
Wait, can I add something, David?
Sure.
Yeah, because this was also, I mean, sort of the advantages of Free to Be You and Me. It was the beginning in certainly in primary grades in education where kids could, in the olden days, you were given a set of textbooks and you could not go beyond grade level, and unless you were really rich and went to fancy New England private schools. And so kids were either held back or they were failed. And so it finally was okay if not everybody was reading aloud off the same page in the same textbook, which really meant that kids had an opportunity to be more creative and to actually rise to the challenges that they could have. The other thing was that among either the hippies or the college people, because that was the year I graduated from college as well, that you became aware of, because a lot of us went and then worked in very difficult inner city situations and began to become really appalled at, in those situations, incredible lack of protection for those children. Just horrible things would happen to those kids, and you just couldn't believe it. So probably the beginning again of well-educated white kids graduating from college, realizing that there was a lot of work that needed to be done. Sarah Lawrence Lightfoot, who is now a senior professor at the Ed School at Harvard, it was when I started, it was her first year, and it was sort of interesting. There were a whole bunch of us just sort of feeling our way through, but it was a sense of freedom to allow more progressive curriculum and studies and giving opportunities to kids who had absolutely no opportunities at all. And so that was a good thing during that period.
Okay. Well, finally, let's turn to the Bad News Bears. Now, let me see the hands of everybody who was ever involved in parent-run athletics for children, either as a child or as a parent. Okay. First of all, can anybody tell me when this whole institution was invented? And for what generation? Jazz?
I'm going to guess the silence. It was going to be invented for the silence.
I think it was invented for late silence. Yes. And a number of GI athletes and were appalled by it. There was a split among major league ball players. I remember reading about this as a kid. And it was interesting because the pitchers liked it because they would have enjoyed pitching. But the GI hitters thought it was horrible because they used to literally play all day with their friends. No parents around at all. And that was a much healthier experience. And I'm not sure this was a good invention on the whole. The other thing I really noticed raising my kids who were involved in soccer where I was involved with them, in baseball when I wasn't. Both of them, when they were just playing with their friends, they would never play baseball or soccer. They would play something completely different because I think they associated those sports with adults, which did not endear them to them further. The only place where things are the way they were for the GIs is probably inner city basketball, where the kids play on their own as much as they can, all by themselves. And obviously that works for developing their skills just as well. But anyway, okay. Now, let me say a word about Walter Matthau, who had an interesting career. He was a GI, as some of you may have looked up. And he had a first career in the 50s as a kind of second-tier actor playing bad guys in many, many movies. And then beginning, I think, with a movie called The Fortune Cookie in the mid-60s, he recreated himself as a comic figure and as a silent. And that's where he is here. Although given that he was pitching in the minors in 1947, he must be pretty near the cusp of the character. I noticed that, and I'd forgotten that it was that early that he was pitching in the minors. And then we have all these extra kids. Now, let me give the punchline, the answer to my trivia quiz. The two boomers I identified are the dance instructor, I think, and the second young woman who Kelly is making a play for in that same scene. Those were the only boomers I could see in the movie, and they weren't there very long. So we have a lot of silent parents in addition
There were
to a lot of
some
Mastown.
boomers in like the crowd, it seems. Like
There could have been, yeah.
older teenagers, but that's about it.
Okay. And then we have this incredible ensemble cast of Xers, which totally blew me away again, watching it again this afternoon. Now, there's a game I like to play in things like this. I used to like to play it when there's ensemble casts. I used to enjoy playing it with people for The Wire. And the game is, who was your favorite among the kids? Yeah, Jude.
That's so easy. Tanner was exactly Tatum O'Neal from Paper Moon.
Oh, yeah, I guess he was. Okay, how many would vote for Tanner? Okay, yeah, it's not unanimous. So who else would people vote for?
I have always loved Ogilvy myself.
Okay.
The smart kid who doesn't get to play, wants to play, doesn't get to play, and at the very end when he gets offered the opportunity to go into play, he's like, this is not a good idea.
That's right. Yeah. I just cracked up totally. There's a wonderful line at the end where they're having the fight with Kelly because he's been hogging the ball. And somebody says, you're not the only reason we got here. And Ogilvy says, well, he's most of the reason.
He's just sees it the way it.
Okay. Well, as I say, I identified with Ogilvy, but he wasn't my favorite one. Any other candidates? Yeah, Janie.
I like the kid who had been in trouble, and he was given a chance to prove himself.
You mean
Kelly?
Kelly. Yeah.
Kelly, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
You did. Very interesting.
Yeah, I did. You know.
Okay.
You got to help every child.
Does anybody know about his life? He got going in acting. He's also in Breaking Away, where he's the kid who always wants to fight. But his parents robbed him blind, and he had a very difficult childhood and finally got back into it. But it was a pretty classic Xer story. Okay, anybody else anybody want to mention?
I like Lupus.
Lupus.
Yeah.
Lupus.
Right.
Lupus.
Okay.
Can I just make one comment, a quick comment? I like
Sure.
the kid on the other team who stopped pitching.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he was very good. Oh, my other favorite, though, I would say, particularly from an acting point of view, was Engelberg, who I thought was fantastic, although he also had some of the best script written for him. Yeah. All right. So let's get right to it. Let's try to make our list of virtues as understood by the Bad News Bears.
I'll treat everybody equally, or I'm thinking of the response to Kelly, I guess it was, who was told to, cover for everybody in the outfield, and then was shunned by the group.
I think it's more everybody has something to give if we let them give, more than treat everybody equally, because I don't think that's exactly it. I think it's more we all have a special thing to give, and we have to recognize that with everybody.
No,
That's-
but I think that I'm thinking of the response to Walter Matthau, and they felt it was unfair. He was being very unfair because he was favoring this one kid and telling him, you know, the others, basically saying the others aren't as good as you are. I want to win this game, and you know, be sure that you make sure that we do. If you want to win the game. So he's not giving everybody a fair, you know, he's not treating everybody fairly in that game.
All right, Michael, your hand was up too.
Stick up for your teammates when Tanner sticks up for Lupus.
Okay, right. I want to go back to what they were
Loyalty.
saying too, because for me, what that is everybody deserves the chance to show what they can do.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll do it, maybe they won't, but the point is that they have the chance to find out.
They have their shot.
Exactly. Yes. Jocelyn.
I was just going to say sticking it out and not quitting.
Yep.
Yep. Because badly
Perseverance.
they kept playing.
What was that?
Exactly.
I said as badly as they were doing, they kept
That's
playing.
right. Although Tanner, along with Buttermaker, saves the team. Because remember when they want to quit, he says, "What about you, Tanner? You want to quit?" Crud, no, I want to play ball. He says. Yeah. Yes, Janie.
And that winning isn't everything, because in the end they lost, but that they actually won because they had all contributed and they'd all worked hard and they'd improved. So in other words, working hard and improving and working as a team, in the end, they learned more than perhaps if they had won the big trophy. So
That's right. Yes. By the way, can anybody think of another very well-known baseball movie that also ends with a play-at-home plate? No? A League of Their Own.
Oh, it is a league.
I was just saying.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I would think a lot of them do.
A lot of them I would.
A lot of them do. Yes, that's true. A lot of them do.
I was thinking Angels in the outfield.
Okay, I don't remember the end of that, but okay. Yes, a lot of them definitely do. Right. Or with a home run. Okay, other virtues, if any. Chaz.
Underhandedness, while basically honor. Every time I watch this film, I'm always noted how if someone acts dishonorably, the entire group of kids go, "Okay, we're not going to put if you're going to behave that way, we're not going to put our all into it. Oh, sure, we'll show up, we'll go through the motions, but we're not going to, if you're going to behave this way, we're not going to put our all into it," kind of thing. There's
Example?
a kind of a personal code of honor kind of thing. And the biggest example comes, of course, with the kid who refuses to pitch when his father starts really going hard on him. Another example I would actually say would be with regards to Kelly, when Kelly starts covering for everyone, it's at that point it's like, okay, yeah, that's more of like a communal honor in that kind of sense. But there's a strong emphasis on that kind of honor, personal or communal, in this film. I always find.
Okay. By the way, I forgot to mention Ahmed, who I also thought was wonderful, and who also did have a brief subsequent career as an actor, but it didn't go that far. All right. What about vices?
Obsessiveness, being obsessed with winning is a vice a couple different times.
Drinking.
That is what the movie. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. The movie says that. I was thinking more of what they think, but
lack of impulse control.
Whose?
it's a lot of people, whether it's
well, the old people, yeah.
whether it's Mathau for indulging in drink, or whether it's sometimes the kids who are just like, all right, I'll bet you this for this, on a kind of like almost a whim with of course, a plan that we'll get Kelly onto the team, but it's sort of like, or even, it's just like, oh, there's the opportunity, I'll take it. That kind of like impulsiveness.
Is a bad thing. Or, oh, I'm asking, not telling.
In any case.
Okay.
Bullying.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Okay. And everybody, this is not the same question, but this desire to prove themselves is just overwhelming. And that's why they're there in the first place, and it keeps them going, it seems to me.
And the silent parents at the beginning kind of say, and I actually didn't notice it before when I watched this, that, oh, this is a highly competitive league.
Yes, Vic
and
Morrow
emphasis
says, yeah.
on the competition more and more. They really lean in on it, which is interesting.
Right, right. But you do have to be willing to accept what happens. And that's why they're getting so upset at Mathau in the middle of the final game. Because he's obviously losing it because he's so terrified that they're going to lose. Yeah. But the other great virtue, I think, that comes up a lot in a lot of dialogue, including that line of Ogilvy's I quoted a few minutes ago, is having no illusions. And they come back to that again and again, all of them, and bullshit is a huge vice. Maybe the biggest vice is bullshit coming from anybody. And there's so much of it coming from the parents. And that really gets to me.
Yeah, Tatum O'Neal calls Mathau out several times on his bullshit.
Yes, right. All right, now, there is another dimension of this film in that we see very little parenthood action. We do with the other coach and his son, of course, but that's about it. But on the other hand, there are obviously parental aspects to Mathau's relationship with Tatum O'Neal. But to explore that again, I have marked out the clip when you first see them together, which I think is a very interesting clip. And it has parallels, actually, in some other movies about Gen X kids and their parents. So let's get that one out. All right.
Long time no see.
Hey, pretty fancy neighborhood you're working these days, Amanda. Coming up in the world, huh?
What are you doing here?
Oh, I didn't have any pools to clean this afternoon, so I thought I'd drop by and say hello. How's your mom?
Fine. What's it to you?
Is that the way to talk to me? I haven't seen you in 2 or 3 years.
Well, if you're looking for money, you can forget it.
I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for anything. Come on, be sociable, for crying out loud.
Hey, what's that?
What's what?
It's a mitt.
What?
That.
Oh, yeah. I thought, you know, if you weren't too busy, maybe you'd like to play a little catch.
No, thanks.
Huh? Well, it was just an idea. I mean, how's your fastball these days?
Why?
Well, to tell you the truth, I'm coaching a bunch of kids some baseball. Thought maybe if you're not doing anything, you can drop by the field and maybe join the team for old time's sake.
I knew you were up to something. I'm through with pitching. My mom says you almost ruined me with that sports stuff.
How did I ruin you?
That fastball you taught me put my arm in a sling.
It's a fine way to act towards me. I figure you owe me a thing or two.
Owe you a thing or two?
I was like a father to you.
Ha, some father.
Didn't I take you to all the ball games?
Could have gone to him anyway.
Didn't I take you horseback riding? Didn't I take you and your mother to the movies twice a week? Didn't I pay for your math tutor?
Math tutor guy was a drunk like you. I got a D in math that year.
Didn't I let you hang around with me while I cleaned the pools?
While you cleaned the pools. Well, you're trying to kid. I'm the one who did all the work. Sat there and drank your beer all day. By the fourth pool, you were out cold. I had to call my mom to come pick us up.
What about your appendix? Who rushed you to the hospital? Who saved your life? Would you be alive today if it weren't for me?
Yeah, but when you weren't saving people's lives, you were sitting around the apartment drunk. Then you just split. You made my mother sick. You know, she wanted to marry you. Boy, was she dumb.
Well, your mother and I didn't get along too well, Amanda. I liked her very much, though. I still do, as a matter of fact. I'm just not the marrying kind. But I guess I handled it badly, huh?
You handled it like shit.
Hey, don't use that kind of language.
You can't tell me what kind of language
Yes,
I
I
use.
can. If you're going to talk that way in front of me...
Look, Boilermaker, you're not my father, and I ain't interested in playing baseball for you anymore. So why don't you get back into that sardine can of yours and go vacuum the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. I've got business to take care of. You're blocking my customers with your car.
Okay, how would you describe the dynamic going on there? Jocelyn.
I was just going to say, she's got it all over him, doesn't she?
Yes.
You know, she doesn't trust him. She's angry, cynical, but you know, you can tell there's still a little bit of caring there.
Oh yes.
And vice versa. And he's trying to, you know, well, let me see if I can rebuild this relationship. And of course that continued on through the film. And one of the reasons I loved this film was these small little personality interactions, you know, were so subtle in the film, but were really added so much dimension to it. So this is just one, but it was fabulous.
I agree. Any other comments?
I think their dynamic is more a young girlfriend with an older boyfriend kind of energy. The way she talks to him, the way she treats him, she's definitely an adult. She's not a little kid. She's got a maturity to her, an awareness to her that is way beyond her years, probably because of being raised in that kind of free environment. And she's not afraid to treat him as an equal rather than as a parent. And when he tells her how to talk, she's like, you can't tell me how to talk because we don't have that relationship.
There's no difference.
There's no difference. Yeah.
Okay, Jude and then Jocelyn again.
She's Peggy.
She's Peggy.
He's Jason.
Very interesting. Jocelyn?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I agree with that. I will add that I think the screenwriter put a little bit too much adult wit into her comments. I mean, I just don't see an 11-year-old being that quick. Those quips toward the end and just do this and, you know, move your car, you're blocking my view. You know, it just seemed like a little bit much for a child that age, even if she was very smart. That's all.
All right. I would like to take what Eileen said and push it one step further because she said she was treating him like an equal. I think she was treating him like an inferior.
Yeah, everything felt exaggerated.
I think she was treating him like an inferior, and that a lot of what she says is telling him what a grown-up is supposed to be, which he was not. And there are I wanted to get another clip, which I was not able to get the DVD. My library is doing curbside delivery now, but they didn't have it. It's from Parenthood. And it seems to me there's a very similar scene in which Keanu Reeves, as a teenage boy, is explaining to his mother, I think it is, what an adult is. And I get the same message from Amanda and Buttermaker, that these Gen X kids are very keenly aware of what the adults in their life are supposed to be like, but aren't. And that, in turn, leads me to my next question. What sort of a parent do you think Amanda is going to be? Yes, Janie.
She's going to be a better parent. She's going to be far more protective and caring. And I mean, that's, you know, that's where the Gen X parents tended to be much more concerned and helicopter parent. And she has learned the lessons of how not to parent. So she will do
Right. Yes. And again, teaching this course to Gen Xers who were now 35-ish or 40-ish. They would say two things. First of all, with this movie, they would say, that was us. But secondly, many of them talking about their experience as parents would say, you know, I just can't believe the kinds of things we used to do when we were kids that I would never let my kids do. And it just came up again and again and again. But that is a very critical generational dynamic.
Yeah, it's so intriguing to me that you said that you didn't think that's how an 11-year-old would talk. I feel like that's how we all talked. All my friends were like that. I have friends who were 11 smoking cigarettes and talking like that. And we never saw our parents. We learned everything from television. We spoke the way people talked on television. I felt like, other than the hippies, I was raised by television. And I feel like we all were trying to get in those quips and trying to be really intelligent. I had read all of Shakespeare by the time I was 12. So I don't think that, I think the kids that age were pretty sharp and pretty quick, and that film really caught us. I love that film. That's one of my favorite films. I always say that guy was my dad and I was that kid. I really identify with that. So I think it's because of how we were raised. We were quick and sharp and trying to make the punchline and all that kind of stuff, because that's what we were taught was the way we were supposed to respond. We, like I said, we learned it from television. So the punchline was really important to all my friends.
By the way, did anybody notice who wrote the movie?
Nope.
Yeah, Jude.
Burt Lancaster's son.
That's right. Bill Lancaster, who I think is exactly my age, is a boomer, and who had polio when he was a kid. And I think for a lot of boomers, these were the kids we would have liked to be, but couldn't be when we were kids. And that was the appeal, because that certainly was not the kids I grew up with. Although it was a miniature, they were miniature versions of the young adults that I grew up with, which is kind of interesting. Ben, you had your hand up, I think.
Well, I just wanted to say that there are sort of 4 examples of parent-child relationships. The the surrogate parent that you mentioned, the coach and the girl, and then but then there's also the terrible parent, the counselor and his child, the coach and his child, and the no parent, the Kelly Leak family scenario. And I can't think of a good representation of parenthood in that film.
No, there isn't.
I think there was one very subtle one. That was the mother of Kelly's mother.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
And there were the parents after the game who used in the end on the stands who were showing good parenting skills too. They're just not the focus of the story, but you can see them if you're looking for them.
By the way, when I was coaching youth soccer, I wanted to ban every parent from the field so much. I mean,
I got banned.
I got myself in trouble once for saying so, but I really meant it. It just drove me nuts. But anyway, yeah.
What about Joey Turner's mom as a?
I think that's who she was talking about.
That's who
Susan was talking
Kelly.
about.
Yeah, the mother of the kid that stopped pitching. Yeah.
Right. By the way, another example of what I was talking about, of the kid's attitude, is when his father tells him to walk Engelbert, and he said, "No, I'm going to strike him out." And that's right. Okay. Did anybody else? Let's see. Oh yes, Jude. Right.
Apparently, the Walter Matthau character is based on Burt Lancaster. That's how he was to his son.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah.
Where did you get that?
I mean, look. I grew up with real GI uncles, but a silent mom, and they swore, like in front of kids.
Oh, okay.
And the silent parents never did. So I always got the GI vibe from Matthau every scene. But it's supposed to be Burt Lancaster, sort of a typical GI, who was very abrupt and, very angry with kids.
Huh. Very interesting. Okay. Let's see. I've just lost.
I mean, he's not Oscar Madison here. He's not a lovable curmudgeon, Walter Matthau. He's got real problems. And
oh yes, he does. He certainly does.
And look, if you go through the syllabus and even some of the clips you pull, you love the underdog. You do.
Yes.
It's like, we're going to need a bigger boat. Okay, that establishes that this is going to be a long movie. But Walter Matthau's approach to the underdog situation is get 2 ringers.
Well, that's true. Yes.
Not teach the kids I got to be real ball players.
Well, they did improve, yes.
Yeah,
but
they
there's
did.
no substitute for a well above average ball player. He's
Yeah.
right about that at any level. But yes, that was indeed his attitude. Did anybody notice things jump out at you in movies that wouldn't happen today? One that jumped out at me was when Tatum O'Neal is riding on the back of the motorcycle. Anything get you about that scene?
Yeah, no helmets.
Right,
Helmets,
exactly.
no
Right,
helmets.
Right. Something else happened to Patty and me recently like that. We were watching a movie, some people might have seen it, called Cactus Flower.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. And it also has Matthau, actually, although he has nothing to do with this scene. And Ingrid Bergman, a middle-aged Ingrid Bergman, who has 2 nephews. And Goldie Hawn is in it. It's all very complicated. But it takes place in New York City. This is from 1969. So, and her 2 nephews, I guess, are late wave boomers, or maybe one of them's a first wave Xer. But anyway, she's taking them on this outing, and she wants to go into the record store where Goldie Hawn works to meet her. And they're right in front of a coffee shop. And she just turns to the kids and says, "You 2 go on in and sit down, and I'll be in 10 minutes. That's all we could think of was today she'd be arrested for sure for doing that. But I'm sure nobody batted an eye at that in 1969 when the movie came out.
Along the David?
Yes.
They also didn't have seatbelts.
And the car was full of kids.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
And he gave them beer at the end of the game. The parents didn't come storming in. They looked.
Oh, I
on
know.
the clock.
Yes.
They didn't stop them. They
Yeah.
watched them. drink the
Actually,
beer.
watching it today, that struck me as the single most over the top thing in the whole movie. I mean, in terms of whether it could actually have happened. I suppose a comparable thing is Lupus making the martini, but that was a funny moment.
Well,
I must
that
say.
kind of reminded me of a moment from another comedy film, Auntie Mame from 1958, where
Oh yes. Oh, you're right. Yeah.
kid makes the martini.
That's right. He does. That's right.
So I think this might be like a comedy staple that managed to
that's
survive
right. And
20
he's a
years
GI.
there.
All right. Time is running down, but anything else anybody wants to say about Bad News Bears before we go? Yes, Jocelyn.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one of the things I really loved about this movie was the fact that Polly Platt was the production designer. She was, I don't know if you know, she was the wife of Peter Bogdanovich. And
Oh,
she
right.
was,
Yes,
like
yes,
behind
yes,
the
yes, yes.
scenes in a lot of his films, never
Yes.
got the credit, never got, on-screen credit until a little bit later she broke away from him. But
Yeah.
being a woman and working on this baseball movie, she got a lot of pushback apparently.
Oh, very
But she was
interesting.
obviously up to the task and really made the production design just so evocative of the era. I thought it was terrific.
Janie.
I was going to say the other thing is that in today's world, we have to have criminal records checks for anybody who does anything with kids. If you're the coach
Three of them in Pennsylvania.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And you have to do it every year. And even though in your job you do a criminal records check, no, if you're going to volunteer with us, because nobody shares the information. And if you are a volunteer and you drink, you do anything at all, I mean, you're done, you're out, you're blackballed, you'll never get to do it again.
Wow.
But but you have to do that because the parents will sue you if your child comes in contact, plus all of the firewalls that have to be put in place for kids under the age of 18 using technology. When when you look at the incredible legal requirements for safety all the way around that have to be done, it is incredibly onerous, and you have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did want to mention, again, the ensemble acting is amazing. And actually, the movie this really reminded me of that we've used, in a way, is 12 Angry Men. I mean, it could have been called 10 Angry Kids. But one thing they have in common is both of them have an incredible amount of drama just on the characters' faces. That happens again and again in both of these movies, and it's very well done. Well, to add a little dimension to Gen X, I have another clip from a famous Gen X movie, which actually is at least 10 years later. But the interesting thing is, this movie is about high schoolers on detention. Some people will guess what it is. But the question I want to ask you as you watch this scene is, let me see, where have I put this? Wait a minute. Oh no, it's not here. I'm sorry. Yes, I'll get it. No, wait a second. Oh yes, there we go. Yes, what I want to ask you is, do you recognize any of the same characters from Bad News Bears a little older? Oh, nuts. Oh, no. Okay, wait.
It's the other film I've seen the most.
There we go.
Paper. Come on, Bender, don't screw around.
What are you gonna do?
Drop dead, I hope.
Bender, that's school property there. I mean, that's, it doesn't belong to us, and it's something not to be toyed with.
It's very funny. Come on, fix it.
You should really fix that.
Am I a genius? No, you're an asshole.
What a funny guy.
Fix the door,
Yes,
Bender.
everyone just shh. Listen, I've been here before. I know what I'm doing.
No, fix the door. Get up there.
Shut up!
God damn it.
Why is that door closed? Why is that door closed?
How are we supposed to know? We're not supposed to move, right?
Why?
We're just sitting here, like we're supposed to.
Who closed that door?
I think a screw fell out of it.
It just closed, sir.
Who?
She doesn't talk, sir.
Give me that screw.
I don't have it.
You want me to yank you out of that seat and shake it out of you?
I don't have it. Screws fall out all the time. The world's an imperfect place.
Give it to me, Bender.
Excuse me, sir. Why would anybody want to steal a screw?
Watch it.
The door's way too heavy, sir.
Andrew Clark, get up here. Come on, front and center. Let's go.
Hey, how come Andrew gets to get up?
That's right.
If he gets up, we'll all get up. It'll be anarchy.
Okay, watch the magazines.
It's out of my hands. That's very clever, sir. But what if there's a fire? I think violating fire codes and endangering the lives of children would be unwise at this juncture in your career, sir.
All right, what are you doing with this? What are you doing with it? Get out of here, for God's sake. What's the matter with you? Come on.
Well, you know the school comes equipped with fire exits at either end of the library.
Show Dick some respect.
Let's go. Go. Get back in your seat. I expected a little more from a varsity letterman. You're not fooling anybody, Bender. The next screw that falls out is gonna be you.
Eat my shorts.
What was that?
Eat my shorts.
You just bought yourself another Saturday, mister.
Crushed.
You just bought one more right there.
Well, I'm free the Saturday after that. Beyond that, I'm gonna have to check my calendar.
Good, because it's gonna be filled. We'll keep going. You want another one? Say the word, just say the word. Instead of going to prison, you'll come here. Are you through?
No.
I'm doing society a favor.
So?
That's another one right now. I've got you for the rest of your natural-born life if you don't watch your step. You want another one?
Yes.
You got it. You got another one right there. That's another one, pal.
Cut it out.
You through?
Not even close, bud.
Good. You got one more right there.
You really think I give a shit?
Another. You through?
How many is that?
That's 7, including one when we first came in and you asked Mr. Byrne here whether Barry Manilow knew that he raided his closet.
Now it's 8. You stay out of it.
Excuse me, sir, it's 7.
Shut up, Pee-wee. You're mine, Bender. For 2 months, I got you. I got you.
What can I say? I'm thrilled.
Oh, I'm sure that's exactly what you want these people.
Okay. Yes, Jude.
Cleveland went trans to become the teacher.
Oh. Okay. I would have just said silence haven't gotten any smarter as authority figures, but that's an interesting idea. Oh, come on.
Anthony Michael Hall is lupus.
Oh, no.
I think Anthony Michael Hall was Ogilvy.
Of course. I completely agree.
Ali Sheedy is lupus.
Oh, hey, that's good. I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, right.
Judd Nelson is Jackie Earl Haley.
Oh, okay. Yes, he could be. Although Emilio Estevez is the super jock, but
No,
you're
he's
right.
Amanda. He's Amanda.
Oh, he's Amanda. All right. I thought maybe Molly Ringwald was Amanda. I could imagine that, but all right. Maybe
She
so.
wants to be, but she isn't.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing.
I think Judd Nelson's a mix of Tanner and Kelly.
Yes.
You know, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Wants to fight
Right.
everybody all the time, but he's also the bad guy and wants to have that kind of bad guy image and
Yeah.
flirting with the girls kind of thing.
Yeah. All right. Anything else? Well, next week with Wall Street, I think is a really pivotal movie in the course. We see Xers moving into the workplace. We see boomers moving into some real power. But we also have silence and GIs. I want to mention one thing about Wall Street. I could have waited and put this in the page, but watch the dedication in the credits at the end and ask yourself if that tells you something about the movie. But it really is an amazing movie and a very prophetic one. And in terms of explaining how the world we studied in the first month or so became the world we're living in now, I think it's probably the best one that I could find. So I'm very much looking forward to that discussion. Thanks again.
Thank you, David.
Thanks,
You're welcome.
thanks, David. See ya.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Happy
See ya.
4th, everybody.
Yes.
July.
Have a glorious 4th.
Right.